Welcome everyone to my chess stream here on lichess and Twitch. International Master William Paschall. We're streaming from Budapest, Hungary, and it is Friday, December 30th, so New Year is just around the corner this weekend. There's no simul. Often I do simuls on Sundays. That will not be happening this week with the New Year, so next week on January 8th, we will be throwing in the Sunday simul again, but for now we'll be back on Monday. So today's our last stream until Monday. We're going to be playing blitz and classical chess here today, just like yesterday, 5 minutes to 8 minutes with a small increment. Hopefully the stream will be smooth and no drop frames, but if we lose video, let me know. We'll correct it as soon as possible. The online open broadcast software is a little bit unpredictable, so sometimes I do have some trouble here, but mostly not. Spinal Tap is on. That was our last game from yesterday against International Master Spinal Tap. Yeah, it was a pretty standard game for me. I like to get bad positions out of the opening and save myself with brilliant defense. So I was proud of saving that game. Quite a bad position, basically about lost, but we found, I think, a really great defense. So it was a good save. Spinal Tap is on today. I don't know if he wants another tragic reversal of fortunes like that. Constant Change and Keet Erdikau are challenging me. I'm going to get started in a minute. When did the stream start again? Tuesday. We were away in Prague. We, meaning me and the rest of me. The other me's, but got back, well, like around the 18th. I've been back, and then we took a couple days off for Christmas for the weekend, but we are back and better than ever. 3 challenges. Sedan also challenged me. So we will be streaming every weekday, Monday to Friday, 10 a.m. Central European time, and Sundays we'll normally have a simul. I do like a 40-minute simul. Well, anyway, the time control is 40-40 or 40-30, I can't remember. With 20-25 players on Sundays in the evening, like around 6:30 p.m. Central European time. But this Sunday not, because obviously it's New Year's Eve. So we're going to get started here. We'll be back on Monday. That will be the next stream. Constant Change, Keet Erdikau, Sedan, and Max123. I think all of these players I've played before, so we don't have to worry about being trolled by anonymous accounts. Alright, normal chess today. No weird Wednesday unusual openings. Chaos Company. Nice name. Chaos Company. Constant Change is white. I feel like I've been black against him. A little more than white. Alright, I'm kind of a bit bored with playing the Accelerated Dragon against Constant Change. What does he do when I play the Classical Sicilian now? I'm trying to remember. I have an idea. Let's try to throw him off. If we can get the chance. This is something that I haven't played on the stream, and I don't know why. I go through these phases where I play sometimes new ideas, then I give them up. The Quinteros system. Queen c7. If you want a move to kind of take your opponents out of book very early, I have I've had a little bit of success with this kind of tricky move. One of the better, like, unknown variations in the Sicilian. Instantly played d4. Yeah, I don't know. I think that maybe knight c3 after queen c7 is a little more tricky to deal with. Now, obviously, if I play e6 or something, I'd have to watch out for knight b5. But I do have knight f6 followed by a6 here. It's been a while since I played this line, and I don't have the variations ready in my mind. The way I usually work is that I play something over and over again for a period of time, and then it'd be like really fresh. But I haven't played Queen C7. I haven't played it in quite a while, so I'm trying to remember this. There really isn't any choice here. I mean, I have to play A6. Well, I could play Knight C6, I guess. Knight C6 would lead to a strange position where I've played Queen C7 really early. Do you play D6 in this line with early Queen C7, or how do you stop the E-pawn? Well, I mean, typically, you know, what's he going to do? F4? If he plays F4, I would oftentimes think about D6, but it's not so easy for white to play E5. Excuse me. I think, you know, very often we're going to transpose to some kind of Paulsen. But what happens in a lot of instances is that, like, white gets transposed out of the lines he normally plays. So while Queen C7 doesn't have a lot of independent value, it does mess up the move order for a lot of players. Now here I think we have to think about E5. The problem is E5, Knight F5, D5. White would have a couple of possibilities there. I mean, just taking looks probably fine, actually. So it could also turn into a Dragendorf. I mean, some kind of so-called Dragendorf with G6 at some point. It's probably not a bad option. But E5 just doesn't really look right. I mean, Knight F5. If he had played a different move, if he had played Bishop E2, I would think that E5 actually still isn't working, is it? Yeah. In E5, Knight F5, G6. Obviously, white can play Knight E3 there. I mean, even that position is playable for black, but I don't think it looks right. We've got to play something more fluid. So maybe the Dragendorf or some kind of Scheveningen. I can just play a Scheveningen here, where his bishop's on not really a great square. Well, I think the Dragendorf is possible too. I wasted a lot of time debating a insignificant... What? Maybe it's a mouse slip. Very, very strange move by white in this position, 92. Very strange move. Can't imagine what would possess you to play that. But as is the case in the hedgehog, the d5 move maybe equalizes, but I'm not sure it's the right idea here. So let's keep it small ball and keep the pieces on the board. Yeah. This looks very radical, but it's almost always good in the Najdorf. I talk about my friend Zlatko Linčić a lot, and he's reached the point now that when he plays the Najdorf, he's basically trying to play h5. He's trying to play h5 as early as possible. This is appropriate against knight g3. It's a preemptive move. I don't want to let white play knight h5. Although you can certainly play any sort of normal move here, knight on bd7. maybe with less time, I shouldn't complicate the game. All right, Danny Sanchez. I think it seems okay for Grandmaster Quinteros from Argentina was the one who started to play Queen C7 for a while in like the 80s. But the move doesn't have that much independent significance. But as I said, it kind of messes some people up. It might cause them to play a move order that isn't really, it might change their move order. White here played D4. Maybe it's more flexible to play Knight C3 first. But if you don't play, for example, in the Paulson, I personally don't play Knight C3. When I play against the Paulson or any kind of E6 Sicilians, I normally don't play Knight to C3. So if you're a person who doesn't play Knight to C3, you can't play Knight C3 on move 3. That's what I'm saying. So there's various like move order issues that White has to kind of be careful about. All right, well, H3, obviously H4 is a little more aggressive here. Now, I'm not sure I want to play H4 or not, but I don't see any reason I have to commit myself right now. It looks like he was afraid of, quote unquote, afraid of H4, H3 by me. That's why he doesn't want to play, like, why he played H3. He doesn't want to see me go H4, H3, maybe. But H3 looks like a somewhat passive response. Yesterday we saw the same idea occur in my last game against Spinal Tap, but it was a far different position. It was a King's Indian where, White is like going to play more on the Queen side. I'm not liking this Knight on G3 for White. Other than that, I mean, it's a totally normal position. But it serves a purpose, of defending the pawn on E4, I guess. There are also maybe some piece sacrifices White can do. Maybe I should play H4. I'm hemming and hawing here, but if I do play H4, put pressure on the E4 pawn. I can put more pressure on the E4 pawn. B5. B5 is a reasonable move. He's gonna have to go back to Knight C3. That's like ridiculous. I have to watch out for piece sacrifices on B5 at some point. It's a little safer to play, say, B6. So I don't know. Well, the problem with playing constant change is that he just plays really fast. There's no piece sacrifice on B5 in this position. I mean, there is, but it's just losing a piece. So objectively, Black has a very good Najdorf. Even Boris Gelfand isn't, Topalov, Boris Gelfand, playing H5, H4, it looks extreme, but it's actually a fairly common occurrence in a lot of lines. Looks like White is in pretty bad shape here. He has a lot of time, though. Okay, now he's weakened the dark squares quite a bit. And now I would think D5 becomes a tidbit stronger than it was before. White's position is still not that bad. Not that good. but the 4-minute to 1-minute time advantage means I don't have any time to think about complicated variations here. Now it looks like he's losing a pawn after knight c3. Expected white to take on d5, of course. Knight c3 was, I assume, a serious mistake. Now white didn't find a plan in this game. I don't understand initially why he played knight to e2. It was not the kind of position where white can afford to maneuver. It's not like a g3 variation of the Scheveningen or something, dragon, where white can afford to do knight e2 maneuvers. Probably, no, knight b1, okay. Well, we're winning a pawn. We have arguably better development than white as well. So it's a very, very good position for us. I don't think this was the best move by me. I had better. Although blacks clearly went better, practically winning. Anyway, it's not easy to find a move that could surprise your opponent on move 2 in the Sicilian, so a viable move like queen c7, not some ridiculous, useless move, has a lot of effect. Okay, queen f3. Queen f3 makes sense, right? He's attacking. Let's just play here. Maybe I missed something better. I don't know. I had queen b6, the prior move. That was a really bad... I should have played this check. I think it's just winning much more powerfully than playing knight takes e4 first. So I gave him a little bit of time by not playing the check right away. Obviously, black is still theoretically winning, but where do you draw the line between winning and clear advantage? You know, a pawn is not really technically enough to be a win. In this case, white has serious weaknesses around his king side, so that's why he's lost here objectively, not just because he's down a pawn. And now we just win by force, I guess. Queen d1. With all sorts of good moves. Bishop c5 check. Queen b6 check. Bishop d6 check. Bishop f4. Wow, I'm down to 29 seconds. Very important, my queen is protected by my knight here. You don't want to have a nasty surprise. Otherwise, bishop b5 check would trade queens. Here it just loses a piece. But in retrospect, why didn't I just play queen c7? I don't know. I wanted to live on the... I want to live on the edge. Okay. Next game, Keith Erdekel. Guys, if you'd like to challenge me, please do so to something between 5 and 8 minutes with a small increment, preferably like 3 seconds or maybe 5 seconds if it's like a 5-minute game. Keith Erdekel. Okay, against that, the queen c7, white has several ways to play, like knight c3 or c3. I think the c3 Sicilian fairly useful against queen c7. Excuse me, guys, if I'm coughing. I don't know what's up. Need a glass of water or something. So, e4 again. I'm black again. Am I getting trolled again here? Black every game. Our moderator is not in the house today. I guess he's taking Friday off. Okay, so let's play the Caro-Kann. Yesterday I was talking about Nakamura playing the Caro-Kann against Leiko. I thought it was a bad choice. But he almost got something against Leiko. In the ending, Leiko had to be very careful not to lose. I'm talking about the rapid tournament from FIDE World Championship. Of course, yesterday was Blitz. Carlsen and Karyakin. Well, maybe Karyakin is really becoming a force to be reckoned with. I thought it was a momentary freak thing that he won the World Championship Candidates tournament, but maybe not. Playing very well in Blitz yesterday, beating Carlsen and tied for first after 13 rounds. Yeah, oh, Sorrentier is here. Sorrentier, I didn't see you, man. Yeah, Alamau. 1510's a little bit long. A little bit long for the stream here. Maybe he doesn't realize I'm streaming. You know, sometimes I get people just randomly challenging me to a game on lichess, so it may be one of those people who just happened to challenge me. You know, Leiko played this against Hikaru, and Hikaru here played e6. Quite an interesting move, actually. I mean, this is not new, but I always play knight d7. Bishop c4. But what is the idea? Oh, like I don't know my Caro-Kann theory well enough, but I have the feeling bishop c4 is probably a better move than Leiko's bishop d3 against Carlsen. I don't understand what bishop d3 does. After his 8 moves or 9 moves, it was totally equal. I'm not even sure that knight e5 is objectively the best move. But I don't think that white has much here. Takes with the pawn. Does white have an advantage here? Does have some space, you have to admit. But sometimes space is a good thing, sometimes space is a bad thing. Sometimes you get overextended. H5, he likes space. Well, I have 2 moves. Knight f5 trading pieces, or trying to trade pieces, and knight d5. mean, white looks... I hate to trade that knight on g3, but it does have potential to become a powerful piece. You can't believe Ivanchuk won the rapid. You can't believe it. And no respect for Ivanchuk, man. The guy is a monster. He's probably one of the most brilliant chess players in the game. I mean, I think the only reason why his rating isn't higher is because he plays too many tournaments. I mean, it's not like he's 50 or he's like mid-40s, like 47 or something. I mean, I think you underestimate, a lot of people underestimate some of the players, especially the younger players who are learning. The younger players getting into the game now, there was someone the other day who, he acted like Leko was nobody, you know. I mean, you may not realize it, but Leko was like one step away from being world champion. And I'm not a huge Leko fan, but it's easy to forget the past. There are certain reasons why players aren't at the top, you know. I don't think that Ivanchuk and Leko are not, you know, 27-60 because they're old, you know. The reason, or Shirov even, the reason why these players are no longer like in high 2700s is because of some other factors. All right, let's just trade this off. So, what do we have here? I mean, a chess tournament is basically like a lottery of that magnitude with that many players. You know, it's not very often that a 100-player tournament is going to be won by the highest rated player. In fact, it was. I mean, Carlsen tied for first, but so White's overextended here, or does he have an advantage because of his space? Are you going to do any YouTube videos and explaining some of the games in the rapid that those GMs attended? DST. Well, I might. I might. I already did one video for chesslecture.com that hasn't been published yet, but I'm a little low on time here, guys. He's hanging a pawn. Excuse me. I don't know why I'm coughing so much, but we were past that. I'm going to go for this because I think opposite color bishops here is looking pretty okay for black. Yeah, DST, I mean, it's not a bad suggestion. I think next week I'm going to start making some YouTube videos, so we could certainly start with some interesting games. My problem with the rapid games there is that, you know, they're not like long tournament games. The quality of the games is pretty low, so it's not really as instructive as trying to annotate games from a longer time control. I had a hard time finding a really good game, to be honest with you. You know what do you guys think about this idea I had? I was thinking, I know that the increment is very popular. I'm using it on my stream so I don't lose on time while I'm commentating and stuff. But personally, let's just say, for argument's sake, that a rapid chess game is what? It's 25 minutes or 30 minutes? It should be like kind of a maximum time, right? Basically, We don't want these pawns to get out of control. Now we could we could arrest his king in the center. Oh, we're just picking off a pawn here. Sweet. Always look a little further. We're never just picking off a pawn, I guess, but we'll take it. I don't know where to go. Did you guys see the blitz game? There was a fantastic blitz game between Ivanchuk and Grishuk in the blitz tournament yesterday. And it was a great struggle, but Ivanchuk ended up just like Grishuk sacrificed a piece and then had nothing for it after a few mistakes or something, and Ivanchuk could not beat him with like 2 rooks and a bishop against the queen. Very strange turn of events at the end. Rook g3. Needless to say, I think castling queenside here is a little safer than the kingside castling option, but it's never completely safe. White's pieces are quite active. Opposite color bishop position. I do have quite a bit of pawn protection for my king. Bishop a6. Oh, you guys have this idea. It doesn't really do anything right away. You're talking about bishop a6 last move, yeah. That's probably a computer move. It's a hard move to find. It's a hard move to find. But maybe my queen should have gone back to d6 or something like that. I thought about it. It would have been a little safer to put the queen back there, but with 1 minute left, I didn't see bishop a6. Obviously, I'm aware of it in this position, but it's not as strong now. Fresh Kid said, I would appreciate a 25-10 stream one time a week. Man, 25-10 stream. We play like 3 games. It's not like a stream, it's like a private match. What? Rook c3? Okay, what are we going to do here? Keep Erdikel. I had bishop b4. I guess I shouldn't tell him about it. But I was thinking of just getting all my pieces in the game here. Probably shouldn't mention bishop b4. Never ever tell anyone your plans. Unless you're doing a stream where you're like trying to teach people how to play the game. And that goes for life and business and poker too. So anyway, Grishuk, very good game if you guys want to see a fun game from the blitz yesterday. Grishuk against Ivanchuk. It ended in a draw, but it was really crazy. Okay, what's the deal here? Rook d2. We don't have too much time, but I mean the whole reason I put my queen here was to keep pressure on f2, obviously. At the very least, I trade some pieces here in a situation where white Uh-oh. White was starting to get some initiative. Totally missed this move. Why are you giving me more time? No need for that. Well, he must like his position if he's giving me more time. Looks like I have to take here. No need for anybody to give me more time. I've got plenty of 3-second increment, so I'm perfectly capable of playing the whole game with 3 seconds per move. I like to think more when I have the luxury of doing that, but it's not always necessary. Bishop takes e6. What? Oh, I see. So you're just going to take that? What is this? Wow. Can I play this? Oh no. I feel like Ivan shook again. Okay, this got a little too complicated. Queen g7. In which position? Bishop takes e6 check. I could also just play king b8. And the position is unclear there. I mean, maybe white's better. I'm not sure. But it's not lost, I don't think, for black. Gave him a lot of counterplay. This is reminding me of the aforementioned game. White sacked the bishop. And it was the same distribution of pieces, I think. Rishuk had an extra bishop, 2 rooks and queens on the board. But the king was on the other side. Ivanchuk was black. And then couldn't win with 2 rooks and bishop against the queen. It was very strange. He wins the rapid tournament, like he can't convert such an elementary. He was like plus 50 at one point. Kiderdikel, what are you thinking about here? What are you thinking about? He's disappeared? Yeah. Okay, now unfortunately it looks like I have to play rook e8, which is very passive. But I don't see... I might have another move. Wow. Rook f8. He lost on time. What's the deal here? There must be a trick for white. Wow, he's just totally winning after rook d1. Nice move by me. I saw rook d1, but I didn't see how it was totally winning. But now I guess I see. Oh, I have to play this. Rook e8. And that's winning. Alright, guys. Well, I had the feeling, don't play a move you couldn't analyze that thoroughly. So the idea is there's sometimes that I have queen b5 check and c5, but rook f8 wasn't best. I forgot about this in-between move. In my mind, I thought I had queen b5 check here, but after c5, he's simply taking the piece, so he's winning. Yeah. Alright, well, not a very clean game. Alright, let my time get a little bit too low there. You guys don't feel like you have to give me any extra time. It's a long enough time control as it is. Just let me lose on time, if that's my prerogative. How do you possibly hold the light squared rook if he plays rook d1 instead of rook d7. I just showed you guys. It was all based on queen b5 check and c5. It actually works in that variation. His move was actually trickier, rook f7. I think against rook d1 I wouldn't have fallen into any kind of trap, but in the move in the game, I managed to blunder. He didn't see quick enough to play rook d1. Yeah, the whole point was queen b5 check and c5, and I protect with the queen. But I don't think he should have sacrificed a piece on e6. I mean, why did he need to sacrifice a piece on e6? He had taken on f7, broken my pawn structure. He should have just traded queens, and he probably had an equal position. I think it was a mistake. White has no reason to sacrifice a piece on e6. If it works, wins by force, it's fine. Otherwise, you shouldn't bother. Okay, so this the big clamp defense. I don't know what to call this. Once I lost to Pablo. No, once I lost to what's his name? Spanish GM. That narrows it down. Spanish-American Grandmaster. Not too many Spanish-American Grandmasters running around. Knight h3. We want to get the bishop outside the pawn chain. It's basically playing like a Gurgenidze Caro-Kann. I was teaching someone the other day who had never played this kind of position for white, and I think some people are put off by the space advantage black has here with e4. But you have to have an appreciation for the fact that black's a little overextended, so you know he really has to put a lot of energy into just maintaining that big pawn center. It's not that fun for black to play this kind of position. Interesting move order. White can always play f3 and try to break up the center. Another big question is like, should white play d5 at some point or not? It complicates the game greatly if you do this, creating kind of an imbalance in the situation. I mean, not letting black play d5, but at the same time, white's pawns become kind of, how to say, you know, ragged. This can happen in like the C3 Sicilian. Years ago, I remember I had a game with International Master Ed Formanek. I was black. He played e4. I played c5. White played c3, e6. And then like knight f3, d5, e5. And there I played d4. Instead of going into an advanced French, I played d4, creating this like ragged pawn formation, not allowing white to play a main line of the advanced French. It's an interesting try. G6 here. Now it's starting to look like a kind of normal Leningrad Dutch. It could even transpose. Well, Fidel Corrales Jimenez is, you know, he's not American. Those guys are not American. I meant American like, well, I meant by saying American, I meant like Spanish American. So literally like Spanish American. As far as I know, there's only one Spanish American dual citizen grandmaster. It's a good trivia question. I mean American, like not the American continent, the country, the United States. Can you guys tell me who the only dual citizen of the United States and Spain? Who's a grandmaster? If only I can remember his name now. Well, these guys are Cubans. Reiko. No. This is not a top player. He doesn't play a lot. Reiko is Argentinian, right? A lot of the South Americans have Spanish citizenship too, so that obviously doesn't count. I'm talking about North American, as in the United States. There's a lot of like Argentines who have dual Spanish citizenship and stuff like that. When I grew up in New Jersey in the 80s, late 80s, there was a player who was like 2300 living in New Jersey, and I didn't really think too much about it. And then a few years later, he turned out to become like a grandmaster in Spain. I can't remember the guy's name now. It's so weird. He was like a scholastic talent in the United States, and then moved to Spain in the early 90s. Became a GM. God, can't remember his name now. All right. Anyway, he played the system against me. That's the only game I ever lost in this line with white. It's a position I like to play. Now it's more like a Dutch. It's more like a Dutch at this point. Knight f4 is probably a pretty double-edged decision here. But it's a standard move. Fabiano Caruana. Caruana is Italian. Not born in Italy. He has dual U.S. Italian citizenship. Close. That's a close to our trivia answer. Martinez. What is the guy's name? I lost this guy in a tournament in Bermuda once, a long time ago, like 1999. I lost to him around 1999. And now h4, h5. Not the only move. Securing my outpost. Write a book. Nothing too exciting about New Jersey. I'm probably the strongest player ever to be starting chess out of the southern half of New Jersey, but it's not really a big claim to fame. What is the guy's name? It's killing me. Guys, if you want to send some ginkgo biloba or any kind of other memory-enhancing gifts to my residents, I would appreciate it, because we're getting old and forgetful. I want to say Martinez, but it was a multiple, word name. But maybe not Martinez. I may be on the wrong track. Anyway, it's not a big deal. One day I'll remember. I think I remembered it last week, actually. Now h5. H5 may be a little bit over the top. And bishop E3, C5. He may decide to play C5 at some point. Alright, let's just go for it. Forgotten more opening lines than I'll ever learn. I think you threat H5 here. Thank you, Catapus. I have done this before. It's not my first time. We've played Dutch Master John Curdo quite a few games. I did bust Curdo once in a very similar position, but he didn't play so on the queen side. Wow, takes on f4. Okay, this is disastrous for black. I mean, I guess the only way to play would be, you know, obviously bishop h8, and then I'm just not sure what's going on after knight h5. I would think he could be okay here, right? Bishop h8, knight h5, knight takes h5, rook takes h5, bishop f6. Truthfully, maybe I misplayed this. Now I have a great game, but I don't see what happens after bishop h8 that's so great for me. Oh, I just play knight h3, I see, okay. I just play knight h3, and I'm better. Oh wait, it's not game over. I mean, knight h3, g4, and I have some lasting advantage, but it's still a game. This is obviously bad for black. Arizmendi Martinez, that's the guy's name now. It just like jumped in my mind. So, Arizmendi Martinez. It was the weirdest thing because I knew this guy as being a junior who was lower rated than me in New Jersey, of all places. And then he just disappeared off the map. And a few years later, I'm like playing, and the guy's paired with me in this tournament in Bermuda. And I'm like, who? What? This is the same guy who was like a 2300 kid in New Jersey. Now he's like a Spanish grandmaster. I was like, what? How do you go from being a kid in New Jersey to a Spanish GM? But he managed to do it somehow. Let's just take back here. I guess we have to. Yeah, he's not a household name. I'm not sure if the guy still plays actively. I mean, he's younger than me, but I knew the name would eventually. I knew I would eventually remember what I was talking about. A little hard to defend the d5 pawn. 4 players with d5. What? Interesting poker fact. First game of poker was played with only 20 cards. Now I was under the impression that poker was derived from a French card game that was somehow slightly similar. Correct me if I'm wrong. We got to get some play here. This is starting to get a little irritating. All right. The history of poker is an interesting topic of conversation, and I'm not sure that it's all set in stone. Okay, C down. I mean, the rumors are the historical. There's not that much historical fact to go on how poker was invented. I mean, apparently it started in like New Orleans. That's what I always heard. Maybe Morphy had something to do with it. Max 123. Obviously before that. Before Paul Morphy. Well before. Alright, Max 123. Let's play 8-3. So Max 123. I think that poker started in New Orleans and it sort of migrated westward to Texas and other places. So C5. Okay, we played our Queen C7 for the day. Let's try something. Or do you guys want to press our luck with the Queen C7 theme? Max 123. Guys, do you believe in bluffing in chess? Speaking of, how do you feel about bluffing in chess? Is there such a thing? We're streaming today till 12:30. Then it's Happy New Year weekend. We'll be back on Monday. And next week, January 8th, I'm going to restart doing simuls every Sunday night. So January 8th, 6:30 p.m. CET. That is the next simul. We haven't seen Max 123 in a while. Now I could play a kind of maybe Jeroen would like this with the Queen on C7. We could convert to a form of what looks like a kind of St. George defense with A6. Bluffing chess works. I just bluffed Max 123 because this is not a good line. Not too many people know this, but Knight B5 is an extremely strong move for white here. This was originally, I saw this in a Satovsky game. I mean, don't feel bad, Max, because 99% of chess players wouldn't find this move, but this gives white a sizable advantage after Knight B5. So it's actually a bluff what I did here. I'm better off playing Knight C6 in this position. This is perfectly fine and best move for black. So I kind of bluffed here. And now we have a good game. I should play Bishop B4 or maybe... Should I play Bishop B4 or not? No, I guess I have to play A6. So if you do choose to play this Queen C7, you have to be aware that if Knight C3, you're better off playing Knight C6 in this position, because after E6, D4, black has a problem. And the best move for black in this position is actually A6. You have to do A6 or something like that with advantage to white, some kind of weird position. But now A4 is not good. Now black has a really good game. Well, there's something else wrong with A6. It's similar after A6, D4, pawn takes pawn, Knight D5. I think that's also good for white. So, yeah, you have to do Knight C6, or else you're gonna not be able to take on D4. But now black has a good game. Herr Flip says, I see you live in Hungary. Ignore me. Yeah, I do sometimes go back to the U.S. Last year I was in the U.S. for July and August. I'm not sure what the schedule would be in 2017, but it's possible I'll spend some time in the U.S. But mostly I'm streaming from Budapest. Interesting move now, Queen F3. I think we can play knight to f6. This is original way of defending c3. Also said the longest poker game lasted 8 years, 5 months, and 3 days. Eight years. Have to imagine the action stopped at some intervals. Knight to f6, but we'll let it go. Knight to f6, and what does White have in mind here? Now bishop d2. Problematic. He's found a way to save this pawn and defend c3. I mean, I would imagine I could play anything like knight c6. Probably has to take, and I have equality at the very least. But as far as more than equality, I don't see it. We do have a move here to try to win material. But it doesn't work. Other than that, it's good. So it's really tempting to play Queen e5 here. Putting pressure on the e4 pawn and hitting the knight on d4. Unfortunately, he has a defense to that as well. But I mean, maybe... Are we just putting our queen in an exposed position if we do that? You know, that's my thinking in this situation. Maybe Queen e5 is going a little too far. d5? Kind of logical try. But I don't see what the big deal is. Pawn takes pawn, bishop takes c3. Black's not better. We have Queen e5 check there. It doesn't achieve anything. Not clear what d5 achieves here. Not clear what I'm doing. I'm not worse, but I don't have a plan. And I think that knight c6 is safest. Not very exciting. Nothing more direct that I really like. Queen e5, knight e2, and I didn't see where my follow-up is. It's active looking for black, but the next move is very unclear to me. I like taking toward the center here. My bishop is a little bit buried, as is often the case in the I guess we'll ask Portish about that. And maybe white's just fine here. Yeah, it looks like he managed to maintain an equal position without being worse. A4 is an ugly looking move, creating a big weakness on B4. But looks like white's still equal here. He just plays knight on D to E2 after queen E5. Simple as that. Bishop G5 is a mistake, I guess. But again, queen E5. Isn't that convincing? Now it seems a little better, though. A bit better. I'm very happy to see that piece leave the board. Now black has a huge positional advantage. With the dark squares, that's not a dark square. These are dark squares. I know you guys know what dark squares are, but if I sort of accentuate, you see this pattern of weaknesses in the white position. This is a monster endgame for black. The bishop will eventually be very angry when he comes out. What are light squares? You notice the light squares. And those light squares, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pawns. He has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pawns. I have 8 pawns, but this one's on a dark square. A lot of pawns on white squares. But this massive pawn formation in the center, there's no way that he's going to stop me from liberating this bishop on C8 at some point. What do you have in mind? Maybe A5. Ow! My bishop is muted with all the pawns. Now, I don't want this one on A6, though. In particular, that's hanging all the time. Pretty massive positional advantage for black. You could trade bishop takes c3, but I don't want him to remain with a strong queen on d4. It's also okay to play queen takes d4, bishop c5, forcing rook d2 with a much better position for black. Maybe a computer could defend this position for white. But I think for a human, it's nearly impossible. Absolutely thankless task. Maybe I should play bishop d4 there. Though I'm sure there's some sort of, well, I'm not so sure there's defense actually against bishop d4. But I think I can do anything. d5, f5. Position is very difficult. I mean, maybe bishop d4. Then he has bishop b3 now. Some sort of attempt at defense. It probably can't hurt to play this. He's 2074. He's 2074 in classical. He doesn't. Oh, he's 1700 in blitz. Wow, that's a pretty big difference. But the pawn center is too strong. So we have to take this way. We don't want him to have the b5 square. Really impressive defense by white, though, in a difficult, kind of difficult situation. Right, it was a difficult situation. I agree. Fresh kid, Etatswar, pawn 7. Pawn 7 is from Bulgaria. Mate in 4-7, Ashlyn. We've ever played Ashlyn before. All these games are not rated. They're all... Mate in 4-7 needs to change the challenge to something with an increment. Ashlyn 5-6 is a little long increment, but we'll let it slide, I guess. Alright. Fresh kid. Mostly I'm playing like the maximum 5-second increment. There's really no reason for like a 6-second increment, but if you don't feel like re-challenging me to 5-5, Ashlyn, it's no big deal. Alright, let's play e4 today. I'm black again. I can't believe it. I was just black like 3 games in a row, man. I can't be black every game. No, I was white in 1 game, right? I think, what's my history here? I had a lot of blacks today. I mean, there's 2 Sicilians and a Caro-Kann already. I'm sorry, fresh kid. I can't play black every game. Unless you guys are trolling me. That was my 3rd black. So, Petrov. I think the two best lines are knight takes e5 and d4, obviously. Not really a newsflash there. I mean, I think they're both equally good, what I'm trying to say. Fresh kit is pretty tough. I'm not a bad move, knight c3. This is very trendy, but I think it's lost its luster, so white needs to find something more lasting against the Petrov. I never played knight c3. I like the game to like be about I'll be a little more like complex. So defensive plans against knight c3 have been pretty much worked out. I mean, even little kids I see, you know, I'll see like a little kid who's like 1800 who's been like taught by his trainer to memorize like you know, like 8-year-old kids know how to play against knight c3. It's not a secret anymore. Bishop g4. Okay, this is a pretty rare move. I think there was an Egyptian guy who used to play this against me in blitz years ago. It's some kind of, this might be some kind of weird gambit line that Frank Marshall played. But I might be confusing things. Okay, well, I guess h3, right? What's the deal? I think I'm mixing lines. Maybe the Egyptian guy played it a move later or something. I don't remember now, but well, obviously h3 and g4 is the first thing you think of here. The short diagonal. We get him on the short diagonal, and now he doesn't have, you know, actually, if you think about this kind of position, maybe I'm attracted to it because being a player who played a lot of d4 openings, there's some similarity, you know, with being a queen pawn player with the Queen's Gambit type of structures, but Queen's Gambit accepted type of stuff. I mean, c4 is an idea. The problem is that black has bishop b4 check, and that's awkward. So I would imagine that this has got to be a critical move, but it's pretty risque. But we'll go for it. You only live once, and it's a vast game. So what am I gonna do? I also play the Petrov, not really as expert in it as my other defenses, but I have been playing it on a fairly regular basis with black, at least in blitz, for quite a while now. I probably looked at this in passing a long time ago, but I don't think there's any refutation of, outright refutation of this for white to unleash on black. I'm not sure that the bishop pair is that big a deal. I didn't really see a lot of other options, guys. I mean, what are you going to do here? If you don't do g4, castle into this situation. There was this old Russian guy who used to play chess in the cafe. He would always say that just randomly. Situation, knight e5, bishop d6. This guy had like a English vocabulary of maybe 20 words, but he liked to just say situation. It just sounded funny. Bishop d6 and f4 not recommended. Materialistic out there. Might be tempted to play for f4, f5. Now h4 is a different story. In fact, might even be good. You gotta think about h4, right? What about bishop takes e5? Or whatever. Queen f6, anybody? Is that gonna be a problem? Queen f6. Then I can play f4. My goodness. Alexei Shirov is in the house with the pawn avalanche. h4, queen f6, f4, bishop takes e5, d takes e, queen b6. And you got to imagine Alexei is psyched. Well, we'll play an interesting game. I'm not normally getting this this wild. I said b4. b4. Well, I haven't said b4 today. The knight on e4 is pesky. Yeah, we don't want to see queen h4 in any early stages here. I would imagine white, could take on g6, but it doesn't look like. It doesn't seem like the most incisive way to play the position. I mean, you're opening the rook file for his rook, and it seems like the position is playable for black. h4 this is kind of a classic theme. I mean, g4, knight e5, h4, you see it in the Slav defense a lot. The Queen's Gambit accepted. All kind of variations in d4 openings where like you're hunting down the bad bishop outside the pawn chain. So it's not this is not a random move. I mean, obviously this is played in a lot of different positions. And as I mentioned, this main line of the Petrov, I think there are a lot of similarities with queen pawn games, because obviously you see, we have a kind of classical queen pawn game center with d4 d5, white playing like Queen's Gambit type of ideas in this Petrov. So having a knowledge of d4 openings probably is beneficial to someone who plays this variation for white. Whereas like a lifetime e45 player may not feel as comfortable with the structure. Someone who played a lot of d4. Oh, you meant g4. Okay. You're dyslexic. Your board is backward, man. You have to turn the board around. I don't mean to bust on people who have dyslexia. So he finally came up with an original idea that I just said. Mate in 1 is threatened. It's always a good thing. He's also threatening to win a pawn. Queen e2 isn't going to cut it. Rook h2. Castle, hey. Now I think this is basically where it's at. As I said, Alexei Shirov would love this shit. In for a penny, in for a pound. Maybe I missed something. But Shirov, you know how he loves to play the advanced variation of the Caro and throw all his pawns forward and play like rook up somewhere and across. If you've seen a Shirovian approach to the Caro Khan, then this is nothing, compared to that. Not my typical kind of position, but when called for, I will take drastic measures. I don't know though, guys. Maybe it's too much. Maybe this is just too much. If you think like Shirov, you're like, first of all, I'm not going to move my rook. But no, not really. I don't have a great intermezzo. I mean, f5 does come to mind, but the problem is he's taking on e5 there. And then he frees his queen laterally. So I'm not trapping the queen. I would be surprised if Fresh Kid didn't have a better move than knight g3. Though it may turn out to be a perfectly okay move. I thought I saw another move that was quite strong, but I don't want to divulge all my secrets. And now we have an interesting choice. I tend to think that black could be in trouble here. Well, when in doubt, develop pieces with tempo, right? Well, we have a lot of space on the king side. I mean, I think I'm just winning with queen b5 check. It's kind of... not like game over, but should be good. I don't see why not. The ever popular queen b5 check. Guys, we're going to be streaming for another hour, so we have time for at least 4 more games for the day. Let's see who's in the list. Etatsuar, pawn 7. Juan Quest, mate in 4-7. Thanks for changing your challenges. Ashlyn also had me 5-6. Wouldn't be a big deal, but 5 seconds increment is basically plenty. So I think black is running out of ideas here, but he might be able to find something. We're a little lost in development, huh? This could be a little bit weird. Queen e6. But now that I thought might be best saved for later. h5 was an interesting try, or maybe castles sacrificing the whole rook. But now I have f5. I mean, I could take the rook here. Yeah, and black's just lost, I think. So you could have sacrificed the whole rook. I mean, maybe that would leave you with some kind of chances. We're going to get this rook. This rook instead of the other rook. But Fresh Kid, I'm not sure, you know, that, to be honest with you, I feel like I was sort of fortunate. I mean, maybe if we look at f4, I really thought you know, instead of knight g3, maybe h5. You might be able to play h5 around here. If this works, that's probably the way to play it. You know, if you can play h5, you're probably okay. Etatsor has given me some tough games. I'm in Budapest now. I am from the United States, and I have been known to stream from there, but I'm living in Budapest at the moment. E4, and let's play something different today. Gary Hertz recommended c takes d3. Aha. It makes sense, Gary. It didn't occur to me for some reason. I had seen the idea of queen b5, you know, so I was attracted to that like a magnet. But it makes sense, Gary, to take away the e4 square from the white knight. That's a pretty good idea. That may well be better. Knight g3 didn't feel right. It felt like black was neglecting development. You know, if we think about just, it's really important to keep fundamental principles in place when you're playing the opening. So knight g3 is like moving the same piece twice, not developing any new pieces. h5 felt like it might be a constructive move, a more constructive move. White, I don't know after h5 what's going on, but knight g3 did seem like a concrete mistake. Okay, d3. Well, we respond classically to d3. There was a funny hand DST in one of the turbo tournaments I played, where, this is in the Prague EPT, there was a guy on my left who was on a short stack, and he was obviously a good and very tight player, and on a really short stack he limped in this pot for middle position, and it was pretty apparent, you know, that, I mean, I knew he had pocket aces in that moment. When somebody's next to you and on your left you're really paying attention to them, it was obvious to me he had pocket aces with like 10 or 12 or some short stack like limping in or something. And then this guy on a really short stack with very few chips left, he didn't have to do it. He had like 6 big blind, decided to put all his money in with 2-3 suited, and then one of the blinds like got in the pot too, and ended up being a 3-way pot, and the guy with pocket aces had trapped the blind or whatever into getting all his money in. But the guy with the 2-3, he ended up making like 2 pair. There was like a 2 on the flop. The first, you know, card on the flop was a deuce, and the last card on the end on the river was a 3, and he like tripled up. It was the worst all-in I've ever seen. He might have even made the money. Like, it was just a crazy thing. Similar. All right, so I have looked at this before, oddly enough, because whenever you face this, you're thinking, what do you do if f4? I mean, f4 looks like a good, well, it is really like a Philidor gambit kind of thing with colors reversed. So now I have to remember what I'm supposed to do here. Knight g4 is interesting. I mean, we could certainly play knight to d7, but I would think after that, that feels like white has a decent game, you know. I feel like we've got to play. Not really sure though. suddenly doubting my whole concept here is in question. There's nothing drastically wrong with knight d7 if I have to do that, but strange. I'm pausing because I just suddenly didn't like the look of knight g4, bishop e2. I mean, there's some crazy moves. I could play knight g4, bishop e2, g5. Unclear situation. But actually, knight g4, bishop e2, white's not even threatening anything there. I'm just not sure what my next move is. Bishop takes g4, queen h4, check. Anyway, this is a far more active square for the knight. He instantaneously played knight f3. Instantaneously. Wait, looks like he has a decent game, though. Okay, so I'm going to have to revisit this. We're going to have to revisit this variation in analysis land. I'm not content with black's position. It may be okay, but I have my doubts. It feels like black should have something better. So I wouldn't voluntarily go into this again. It does look like a Vienna. Why did I move to Eastern Europe? Actually, I originally moved to Eastern Europe to play chess. Here in Budapest, there was a long-standing tournament series, which is still in existence, but kind of dying out. Queen takes f6. Why not, right? This is pretty random. Pretty random. But I decided this is much more active than taking knight takes f6. I mean, you got to go with your instinct here. I think white had safer moves than e takes f6. I mean, he could have played h3. Knight takes e5, knight takes e5, f takes e5, queen h5 check, g6, queen takes e5, queen e7. That would actually win a pawn for white. So maybe I miscalculated. Okay, no time to go back and analyze now. Queen e2. I did look at this briefly. That may be a very good move. It has its drawbacks. However, my position has its drawbacks too. I'm not really certain this is good for me. It looks like a weird Petrov. Okay, his bishop's hanging here, so it's probably good for me. He has to find a move. He can't just ignore it and play something like knight c3. I mean, this piece has to be defended. So with that in mind, there is a double attack that needs tending to. No computer suggestions. Bishop there, yeah. Queen takes b2 is not an option, so this is what I figured. It's probably equal. What can I do? Really no choice. This is what I was fearing. Well, I'm not fearing. I mean, okay, I don't think that white made a great mistake. My position was a little bit weird to begin with. Knight c3. It's like a queen e2 Petrov. c6. Killing the knight. It is a Petrov, essentially. Interesting. I didn't trust my position 100%. I don't know. I don't think we're going to find too many games in the database, but there might be a few. I mean, there's not a lot of players who play this line with white. It's a pretty rare position. You don't see the Philidor reversed very often. But I mean, I swear that I've looked at this and I thought that it was like easy equality for black. But maybe, I don't know what else I could do. Okay, there's no time to cry about it now, except that we have a equal game and do what everybody does. Carlsen, Karyakin, Ivanchuk just have to outplay the other guy in an equal position, torture them for 100 moves. There was this one game where Ivanchuk played like, I don't remember who it was, Korobov or someone else. I'm not sure it was Korobov, but it was a strong player. And he just tortured and tortured and tortured for like 80 moves until the other guy eventually like cracked. It seems like that's the way most of those rapid games go. Nothing spectacular. You just get a big time advantage and then the other guy eventually makes some kind of small mistake. Wow. You seriously can do that? Knight f2, rook e1. That's quite an amount of calculation. Knight f2, rook e1. Knight takes h1, rook takes e6. Knight f2, rook e1, bishop takes g5, knight takes g5, knight takes h1. And like, does my knight get out? Wow, that's really, really awkward. Really calculated that? I don't know what else to do. The other line was just too scary to play. What can I say? thought maybe rook e1 there. My king is probably safest on d6. So I think he had rook e1 first, slightly better move. 93, 93, 93, 93, 93 looks overextended. It's approximately equal position. G4. Wow. Extremely aggressive move. This reminds me of how I lost to a Tatsor in the game in the Dragon. He beat me in an ending where he just kept this tiny Karpovian type of pressure. And eventually I lost on time. My position isn't quite as passive as that. But he's played incredibly well. Despite his poor score, we have struggled mightily against this opponent. I mean, it seems kind of counterintuitive to put your pawn on the white square there, but I think in this position, it's reasonable for him. I'd like to trade a set of rooks to he might be a little overextended. I mean, these pawns, these pawns could just fall. I think the g4 could come into question, and I'm not sure it had to. He might have had the ability to play g5. Maybe he could have tried it. I don't know. Will it turn out that g5, was playing g4 a mistake for white? Oh, where is that guy going? White is on the worst half of a draw here at this point. I mean, it feels like he shouldn't lose, but it's not that easy. Tactical tricks. Maybe I should go to c7. Not to allow like bishop forks on f5. He could fork my knight on g4, king on d7 in some positions. We're going to lose on time soon. I guess it's a draw. He's found a way to set up very effective defensive formation. Yeah, it's one weakness is not enough. One weakness shouldn't be enough for me to win. His bishop is pretty active for a bad piece. My knight's mobility is not that great. Is that really a threefold repetition? Seems like we only repeated the position like twice. Huh. Well, anyway, I don't think that I'm winning. If we look at the analysis board, it's equal. Okay, it's going to say equal because we repeated, but it's really equal. Anyway, guys, on to the next game. All right, pawn 7. We have time for at least 2 more games. Hurry up and win. You want to see analysis on this? Well, I want to see it too, but we have only time for at least 2 more games. Pawn 7 is pretty strong, 2200. It's been a while since I played him. I think it was a C3 Sicilian player, if I'm not mistaken. A 2-fold repetition. All right, good game, Tatsor. Yeah, I want to see the analysis of that game too. I want to know how badly I truly played. Okay, so what are we doing now? We've tried everything. Not everything, but we played several Sicilians, a Caro-Kann. Did I play the Caro-Kann today? Yeah. We did have a Caro-Kann. We had an Alekhines defense. Let's try the modern defense. I'm afraid that pawn 7 plays the Mora gambit, and well, let's play c5 here. I thought I remembered him playing the Mora gambit, but it's been a long time ago, and he doesn't play queen takes d4. Okay, no, no Marazzi. It's like I can't possibly beat the Marazzi. Here at least I have a chance. An underrated variation there is knight takes c6, b takes c6, e5. Quite dangerous, but if black knows all the theory, I think that it's okay. So f3. f3, trying to transpose to a normal, like Yugoslav attack against the Sicilian dragon. The problem is queen b6 here allows knight f5, and that's good for white. So I have to castle. And if I see. Wizard Dragon. I'll just look over there and make sure that my move was correct. He's like simply castle. I did not use his spoiler. I actually found the move on my own. Okay, so knight to b3. This is a very strange move. He's playing in the spirit of the classical variation, but without having played bishop e2, having played f3 instead. It does stop d5. So I think the move has some basis for white, but it's not dangerous for black objectively. So it's very tempting to play a5. Certainly viable. Under the category of what would Emery Tate do. We lost a lot of really not only celebrities but really important chess players in 2016. Victor Korchnoi died. Emery Tate. Walter Brown, I think. Did Brown pass away in the beginning of the year, or was it last year? So it's been a really bad year all around for people passing away. Glad to be over with 2016 for more than one reason. Alright, anyway, knight to b3. I don't have d5. I can do d6 or a5. b6 is a sort of silly but playable. Catapus with another suggestion. Yes, I was thinking about e6. It's possible. It is possible, senor. Now the Emery Tate approach appeals a little bit more. If he's really going to try to castle queenside, a5 is usually a good idea. If we induce him to play a4, castling queenside is not really a safe option for white. There is a weakness on b5, but this is pretty standard, as they say, part and parcel for the accelerated dragon or English opening. This could be an English opening with colors reversed. You can think of it that way. In the English opening, oftentimes we're playing a4 as well. We play bishop c4. This looks really dubious for white, in my opinion. Just we've got to play a4. This is good for black. He's certainly not castling queenside. And yeah, I mean, I would play a4. I think most people would play a4. There might be other moves, like bishop b5 or something. So he's gone back to d4. We have knight e5, a3. My only qualm with a3 is that it sort of fixes the situation. No, it doesn't leave a lot of tension in the position. But then again, he might play a3. But I guess knight e5 is hard to argue with. I mean, the knight always has a retreat square. It can go to g4 if f4. I wouldn't argue if you played a3 there, but I like to keep my options open when I have the choice. There's a question about it. I mean, is it better to play a3 or a? It's hard to say. It does weaken c3 a little bit. My instinct here is to just keep developing my pieces. I mean, he's actually giving me more space. He's giving me a square for my queen. You have to apologize, Catapus. I don't really. You can't be a spoiler because I don't really look at the commentary that much while I'm playing. Okay, bishop e2, a3, but I'm not sure if it's good or not. I don't know, you know. But I think the pawn could be dangerous in the ending. So if he elects to keep the pawn on the board, part of me is a little bit like, well, I might make it easier for him to lock the position with like b3 and c4 later on. But maybe we can deal with that. Wow, just craziness. Okay, this is crazy. Crazy move to let me split up his pawn structure there. I mean, it's not like losing by force or anything, but I think it's a dangerous decision for white to let the pawn structure be broken in that way. It doesn't seem like a prudent idea. On the other hand, he has pressure on b7. It might be awkward for me to keep that protected. What would Miso Not miso. Grandmaster's Phaeton. What would Phaeton do? Something simple and correct and dragon-like here. Queen c7 is walking into this knight b5 all the time. It's very awkward. Queen a5. d5. What about d5? d5, e5, knight g4. I mean d5, f4, knight g4, e5. What's my next move there? Knight takes e3. Not sure I want to do that. Knight d7, knight c5. It's going to give him like knight d5 and knight's coming into b6 and stuff. This is a tough call and I'm running out of time. I have a solution, but it's not that seriously easy. I don't know if this is good or not. Yeah, this is not a great solution really for me. It's maybe not that bad. I don't know. Maybe I'll sacrifice this pawn on b7. It's weak anyway. I don't have to though. Queen c8 was sort of silly move, I guess. What an original plan by pawn 7. Who would do that? I would never imagine that idea. Knight c4, take, rook takes b7, rook a3. I mean, it seems like we have compensation here. I don't have a lot of time to think about it, really. You can have your pawn. Rook b4. Wow. Who would find that move? Another good question, right? Is my queen trapped? Is my queen trapped in this position? Is that a serious idea? Rook b4. Wow. He's not letting me play rook c8. A hyper accurate move. Pure tactics, no positional play. Pure piece play, no pawn play. Interesting. His pawn structure is bad. His piece coordination is good. I'm sacrificing the pawn on b7. I don't know why he wouldn't take it. Doesn't take it. That's strange. Okay, well, you're lost, buddy. You certainly could have taken that guy. I'll just have to play this. I was actually considering this a long time ago. Maybe as some kind of tactical solution, but I don't know why white wouldn't take this pawn on b7. It's like anti-materialism. The usual bad bishop. Look at his piece coordination. What's up, Spinal Tap Chess? Didn't get in the queue today. Rook c4. Alright, he's setting up more sort of tactics, it looks like. He only plays with pieces. He doesn't use pawns. Pawns don't count. Pawns are not part of chess. We only use the pieces. That's why he's pawn 7, because pawns are so important to his game. Piece play expert. Pawns are the soul of chess. Obviously a very tactically minded player. Not many people in their right minds would play rook b1 after a3. It's like he's obsessed with combinations of piece play. Rook b6. What a amazing, like, look how much he values the activity of the pieces and tension. I think I remember now, pawn 7 was a young player who had problems with endgame technique. I was able to outplay him in the endgame pretty badly. It's good to remember that. It hadn't occurred to me till now. We're talking about tactics, piece activity, but his endgame technique wasn't good. I don't mean, I'm not saying it to like hurt his feelings, just thinking about the game, you know, how to approach a particular opponent is very important. Look at this. What? It's almost crazy what he's doing with the piece play. Who plays like that? It's very alien to me. I guess you played a lot with computers or something. I don't know. But very little consideration of strategic factors, just piece activity, piece activity, piece activity. White is probably slightly better here, but it's difficult for him to do anything. Now a4. a4, tying me down. And then this move. I'm desperately short of time here. I'm going to have time for one more game after this. winning on time here is a possibility. He seems to be on a move almost instantly. I don't think I can win this. I don't know. But we talked about endgame technique before. Whoa. Could Wesley So win this? Knight endgames. Yeah, here. King e4. He found a defense to that. He instantly finds every move. Pretty interesting game. Pawn 7, I would think a bullet you'd be like 2600. But you don't play bullet. How is it possible? Your blitz rating is 1800. How is it possible your blitz rating is 1800, dude? Okay, one question IQ test. That's probably a draw, that ending. Obviously, it got out of control in the time pressure. Last game today. How could that player be 1800 in blitz? No, I don't know that he's a computer. I just think that I was playing a master strength blitz player in that game. But I mean, his speed is insane. You know, how could a player with that kind of speed be 1800 in blitz? I mean, give me a break. I don't think he's a computer. I think that there's no way the person I just played is 1800 in blitz on lichess. Okay, let's just leave it at that. I mean, there's something strange about that. That's not possible, dude. I'm sorry, but he can't be 1800 in blitz. He makes a lot of positional mistakes, but with that kind of speed alone, you could be really weak and be like 2100 easily. It doesn't jive, you know. How could he be that fast and be only 1800? I mean, no, I don't suspect a computer. It just the speed is ridiculous. So he just on speed alone he would be 2100. That's my argument. Why not e5 here? E5 for who? Maybe I should play a4. I've never played this person before. Alright, so it's a kind of classical Khan Sicilian slash d5 has to be dealt with. We have to keep an eye on that, actually. I'm a little concerned that he could do it right away. What's that? He's a low in blitz. Yeah, but with that sort of speed, man, I mean, you would be at your low at 2100, not 1800. He's playing bullet speed that would be 2200 in bullet. I mean, The ending, he just played instantaneously the best move, giving me no time to think. There's no way I could beat him. Maybe that knight ending there was a chance to play for a win up a pawn, but if I don't have any time to think, there's no way I'm going to be able to win that position. What is wrong with this position? Why does he have d5 all the time? Did I do something wrong here? What could possibly be? This has to be a standard position. Why do I feel like he can just play d5 whenever he wants, and I have no advantage? What choice did I have, honestly? Let's look at the move order. Knight on bd7. I guess I made a mistake here. That's what I did wrong. Put the bishop on the wrong square. I have to play bishop d3 instead of bishop e2, and then queen e2. So I've got this like inferior kind of Marazzi Paulson. Rook e1 is really lame, but I don't want to allow d5. No, I messed up the move order. I should play bishop d3 and queen e2. This is harmless for black. Yeah, we don't see this setup too often. The move order is totally random in the opening. Knight takes d4, b6, e4, knight bd7. I have had this position before. Knight c6 doesn't do anything. I had a game with Zoltan Amashi's brother once, I remember. Bishop d3, bishop b7, castles, queen e2. This is totally lame what I did here. This rook on e1's not great. But anyway, here we are. It supports e5, so it's not so easy for him to play d5. That's our main point. Last game for today, guys. We'll be back on Monday. Coldania. I'm not able to play blitz too because of health issues which impact that. A low blitz number is always possible. Vasham Chess says his highest blitz is 2070, lowest 1822, so he's at his lowest now. But how could a player, like, did you see how fast he was playing in the bullet stage there? How could a player like that have no bullet games? It's practically impossible. I mean, to play that fast when you never play bullet, he must have two accounts, like one where he plays bullet and one where he plays like classical and blitz. Otherwise, I can't play that fast unless I started to play a lot of bullet. B4 isn't good. One question IQ test is screwing me here. No, I could still play bishop e3. d5 still not good because of ed and knight f5. So a lot of people are surprised at the way I approach the game sometimes, but it's important to me to, and I stress a lot of prophylactic thinking, preventing what the other player can do. This is conditioned by studying a lot of Karpov games in the mid to late 80s and early 90s. I don't really play like Karpov necessarily, but I do have a high level of appreciation for the style that he played. And so when you're playing the white side of the hedgehog in particular, it's more about like preventing what the other guy can do than necessarily trying to execute your own plans. Here, bishop f2, queen d2. I'm really becoming a little bit concerned about Maybe I have to play rook c1 or something. It looks like he's getting in d5 there. I'm about to lose on time. If I let him get in d5, black has a good game, or equalizes. Actually, he can't play d5 because a6 is hanging here. He did move his rook away. So perhaps bishop f2 was a bit passive. It might be better to play king h1 and bishop g1, which is a very, very typical, believe it or not, it's a very, very typical setup. Setup for white with king h1, bishop g1, standard. He played some bullet all right, and he's not 1800 in bullet. I'm a monkey's uncle. Rook c1 opposite this queen on c7. This guy's playing extremely logically. I have to play rook c1 to be able to get in b3. One question IQ test. Also impressive. G South said I'm jealous. I don't really care about bullet chess. I'm not jealous of anybody's bullet chess. I never played bullet other than 2 minute when I was like 20 years old. I don't really need to play bullet chess. It's okay. We'll leave that to DST to be the bullet world champion. Blitz is fishy enough. Even the rapid games from the World Rapid Championship, the quality of the games there was absolutely garbage for the most part. One question IQ test seems to know this position pretty well. Thanks for the kind words. He's got me down to 17 seconds. This is a 5-5. I was sort of treating it like it was an 8 minutes, so that's why I'm so low on time. I've been playing all 7 and 8 minute games today, and our last game for the day was a 5-5. I didn't realize it was 5-5, so I played a little bit slowly. A little bit too slowly. But the 5-second increment is very comfortable. I can play the whole game with a 5-second increment all day long. No problem. I mean, 3 seconds is a little touch and go. 2 seconds is difficult for me, but with 5 seconds it's like a luxury. Time control. Hey, we've kept his pawn breaks at bay, and he doesn't seem to know what to do here. I know what to do. I did play this Khan Sicilian a little bit myself with black, and I know what the recommended plans are for black here. I'm not sure that one question IQ test is sure what he's supposed to do at this point. I mean, there's several plans for black. More aggressive is to play bishop d8 and bishop c7. So it is difficult, though, to play with such a short time control, the hedgehog type position. I don't have a plan. That's okay. We're going to find a plan. This is not a good position for this time control for me. It's easier for black to play. White has to prove something. And with no time, it's difficult to do that. He said he'll mess up badly soon. Well, I hope so. Hopefully you did. It looks bad. It looks very bad. So thank you for keeping your word. And unfortunately, he might have a move around here somewhere. It's a good thing that's not my king on G1. A man of my word. If he plays d4, I can keep it blockaded. But let's just do this. The best blockader is the knight. Oh, that was hanging. I shouldn't tell you about it. He's looking for tactics here. Maybe knight takes f3 and d4. Let's keep the blockade. So we were lucky. Bad time management from one question IQ test. Bad time management from me, actually. I shouldn't have been able to win this. If he had just sat there. I mean, we just sit there in this position. This is a very bad moment for d5, so. But it's more dynamic to play bishop d8 and bishop c7. And the recommended plan is like king h8, rook g8, and g5 for black. You try to pry open the king side structure with g5, g4. Obviously, white has ways to cross black's plans, but it's pretty complicated. Anyway, guys, it was fun. Enjoy your day as well, and we'll see you on Monday, 10 a.m. CET. I'd like to thank Jeroen for being a moderator here, as usual, and I'd like to wish everybody a Happy New Year. Hopefully, 2017 will be kinder to the world and actually kinder to chess players. We won't lose anyone like Walter Brown and Emery Tate and all the cool people that we lost in 2016. So we'll be back on Monday. See you guys 10 a.m. Have a great new year. Happy New Year.